San Antonio College. Our college. Our home. As we look to an ever-evolving future full of innovation and possibility, we find ourselves also looking back and remembering how we shaped the world around us. Because at the heart of our college is you. It is because of you that SAC has stood the test of time. Because you dare to dream. You dare to innovate. You dare to inspire. Celebrating 100 years is easy. But celebrating 100 years as a life-changing institution, that's what makes us unique. So come celebrate with us as we begin our year-long journey through the past, the present, and the future. This is 100 years of San Antonio College.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to the San Pedro Playhouse and to the 2025 SAC Convocation Teaching and Thinking with AI. We've planned a great event for you today. Dr. Jose Antonio Bowen has been leading innovation and change for over 40 years at Stanford, Georgetown, and the University of Southampton. He served as Dean at Miami University and SMU and President of Goucher College. He's written over 100 scholarly articles and has appeared as a musician with Stan Getz, Bobby McFerrin, and others. He's the author of Teaching Naked and Teaching Change, How to Develop Independent Thinkers Using Relationships, Resilience, and Reflection. In 2010, Stanford honored him as the Distinguished Alumni. He has presented keynote workshops on over 300 campuses and conferences in 46 states and 17 countries around the world. In 2018, he was awarded the Ernest Boyer Award for significant contributions to American higher education. And he is now a senior fellow with the American Association of Colleges and Universities. Please help me welcome Dr. Bowen to the San Antonio Playhouse and to San Antonio College.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I've been here too long. All right. So thank you to everybody who came to the technical session this morning. A couple of quick housekeeping things before we get going. So I do have a website, teachingnaked.com. It's a metaphor. Don't search for teaching and naked separately. You won't like what you find. And I get a lot of web traffic. No, never mind. So there's a button for AI, and there's resources, and so all the slides are there, plus the stuff we did this morning, and lots of other resources. So I want to do first is, I want to just, I'm going to let this play, show me what, go. You worked a minute ago. There we go. Okay, go. Okay, well, we'll do this one. So that's a video of okay, so this worked 30 seconds ago. I don't know what happened. Okay, so my two videos are not working. So the first video, hang on, let me try one other thing. Yeah, no, that's all on. The website's on. Sorry. Okay, so this first video is of a student saying, take my course in Canvas. Oh, there it is. So there he goes. So he goes to ChatGPT, and the new ChatGPT 5 now has agents as a little button. He says, so complete the course for me. He puts in the link for the course, and then it navigates to the course, asks him for his login, and does the entire course. So, sorry. I mean, I just wanted you, so it does, so I just wanted you to know what it can do. I'm sorry, I'm not advocating this. And this, though, the next one, I'm really not. So this one is, oh, let's complete the course again. So here we go. So this is a video of a faculty member who says, go in and grade the assignment number 1 in Canvas. Again, logs in. This is right another place. Finds the assignment, uses the rubric, does the grading, puts the grades in the grade book, and in fact, what I think would be good practice would be actually coming back and saying, what was the actual feedback? So that's not to scare you. Well, a little bit. It's mostly just to show you. So AI is now at the level where it can take courses and grade them, and that would be pointless. I think we agree. But what I want us to do today is to think about how is AI changing work and thinking. AI is already changing work. There's not much you can do about that. But AI is changing thinking, and there's a lot you can do about that, and a lot we need to pay attention to, because this could be bad, right? AI could replace lots of creative human functions that are important. But this isn't the first time it's happened. So we've had other cognitive technologies, right? We've had maps and the abacus and calculus, and there are different types of cognitive technology. So if I gave you a map, and I show you a map, and then I take the map away, you're still smarter, right? The map has shown you a way to see the world, and now when you don't have the map, you can still navigate because you've got this mental image that's enhanced your thinking. It's a cognitive tool that enhances your thinking. But if I give you GPS, and I take it away, you're just lost, right? That's not good. So a compass, I take the compass away, right? You're worse off than you were if you've never had the compass. It's a compass. So which is AI going to be? Is AI going to be a map or GPS or a compass? We don't know yet. But you're the people who need to think about this. You're the people who need to frame this for yourselves and for students, because it's true, students are going to need to use AI when they go to the workplace. In the same way that students are going to need to use a calculator when they graduate. But if they only know how to use a calculator and can't do mental math, what are they losing? And so you have to figure out, how much mental math do I still have to do? When do I do it? When do I introduce the calculator? When do I introduce the spreadsheet? And when do I say, no, not yet? Because otherwise that part of your brain will atrophy. So it is going to change human thinking, and you have to pay attention to that. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Right? Business is going to just work for efficiency. So you have to be the people who are thinking about this. But AI is going to change average, right? It is going to change what work we consider. Okay, in the same way that a spell checker, right? If you submit work with a lot of spelling mistakes, it's like, oh my gosh, right? Now, we just expect work, right? So spell checkers changed the bar of what we expect to see in terms of student work, applications, job. So 1 in 3 Fortune 500 companies not only require spell checkers, they already require Grammarly. Require, not optional. Any communication you send to a client that wasn't checked with Grammarly, you're fired, right? Because right, it has to be with all the, right? So AI is going to change average. It doesn't mean that student work is not as valuable, but it means that if a student can only do work that's as good as AI, they won't get a job anymore, right? Because companies are going to hire AI to do those jobs. That means that your students have to now be able to do more than they needed to do 3 years ago, which means you have to raise standards. I think that's an opportunity, but it's right. We have to think about, where can I raise standards? But AI is going to reframe what's good enough. AI is going to especially change communications and relationships, right? So marketing jobs are already in danger, communications jobs, because right, it can write a draft for you very easily. Now, what happens when we outsource that? Right, we're going to get less good at writing drafts. Maybe. Is that okay? Maybe, maybe not. Right? But it is going to change communication and relationships. It's weird. I'll show you some of that. And AI is going to make us all more creative. But that might be a bad thing, because if it if our output is more, right, then what happens? Maybe I am less creative because AI is making me, right? How does that, so we have to think about these things deeply, but you have to understand also, how does that work? How does AI actually make us more creative? And also, AI is labor. You are now an AI boss, and you will be forever. And so will your students. In the same way that you need to be an email ninja, right? Because it's coming at you, whether you like it or not. And so managing, figuring out what AI should do and what it should not do should be of primary concern for all of us. So let me talk a little bit about work for a minute. So this is a list of jobs that people think are already, companies are already reducing headcount. Marketing, communications, PR is number 1. Data analytics, business intelligence, number 2. Right, finance, engineering, software. Right, it's a pretty long list. You can tell that the people who did this survey were executive leaders, because they put themselves. Oh, they can't replace us. Well, I don't know. I mean, think about it. When you're a manager, you can only really you can only give positive feedback. You can feedback to one person, maybe 2 at a time. AI could manage thousands of people, millions of people at once, right, and give them, so maybe AI is going to be a better, I don't know. So AI is already a better lawyer in some ways. The good news is early studies found that senior lawyers were still better than AI. Hallelujah. Can I get a hallelujah, right? Oh my gosh. So you're experts. This is important. Your experts matter. Having expertise really matters. The problem is, how do I get students to have expertise if the junior jobs go away, right? Because the junior lawyer is not as good as AI and much more expensive, right? So the company slogan here is, so you can do more of what AI can't. That makes total sense if I'm running a firm trying to maximize profit and I'm a senior lawyer, I can fire some interns, right? But then I don't have a pipeline, right? My junior interns have not learned how to be senior lawyers because I took away that opportunity to make mistakes and learn, right? So again, what we care about is different than what business cares about. So we have to understand where they're going to end up, but we have to get them to learn these things. So I do think companies are already saying to colleges, I'm not going to do internships anymore. You should, right? Send me experts. You could create AI simulations to give them the internship, right? I think I don't know if this will work, and it's certainly not a good thing, but I think it's going to be asked of you, right? To help your students be ready for more advanced work, which is already happening at junior level jobs. So one of the reasons that AI is better than even a fleet of junior lawyers is because AI can search for ideas. What might be missing from this contract? That's hard for a junior lawyer to do. Are there any other contracts like this? One of my lawyer friends says what he used to take depositions by hand, and then he'd have his interns type them up and then put them in a file. He says, no, now he just has his phone listen to them, has the AI transcribe them, and now we can say, okay, we did 400 hours of depositions. Are there any other admissions like this one? I can search for similar ideas. I couldn't do that before. So that's a game changer, and he says it's saving him money, but it's also better than his interns, right? So AI is also better at predicting markets and finances. So in this test, AI, this is an early AI, this is ChatGPT-4, was asked, here are the quarterly earnings, the quarterly statements of the Fortune 500 companies. Predict next quarter's financial earnings. And they compared them to the best humans, and the AI was already better. Why? They said, well, maybe it's cheating. Actually, how about next? They did it into the future to make sure it wasn't just cheating by looking up the results, and it wasn't. It's the same result. So why? Well, when I say to you, how do you think Tesla's going to do next quarter? Who do you think of? Elon Musk. And now you have a bias. Because, right, you're thinking in context. Well, either you like Elon, maybe you have Tesla stock. If you have Tesla stock, you want it to go up, and so you're more inclined to say it's going to go up, right? So AI has bias, but it doesn't have that bias. So this is interesting. Part of why AI can do some jobs better is because while it has bias, its bias is easier to fix than yours. If I say to you, don't think about the cookies, what are you thinking about? Yeah, so if I say to you, I want you to rank the candidates for the new professor of history without looking at the prestige of where they got their PhDs, can you do it? No, because I just told you, and it's like you're thinking, but I can say to the AI, rank the candidates based only on the quality of teaching, and it will do it, right? So AI is being used by HR because it's a counter to human thinking and human bias in some interesting ways, right? And so one of those, so here's an example of AI bias. If I say to AI, what salary should I ask for in a negotiation? And so you can see the different fields are up there. But what's interesting is that, right, if it looks, so you give it your resume, you give it the job description, and you say, what salary should I negotiate for? It gives men a higher number than it gives women because it's biased. Where did it learn that bias? From you. It learned it from the internet, right? It learned it from, right? It has this bias to men, English, Western, etc. So on the one hand, this is a problem, absolutely. On the other hand, if you're a woman using AI for this, just tell it to answer like a man, right? What would I ask for in salary if I, right? And then that, right? So you can correct the bias if you know what to ask for. So that critical thinking part, that what else do I need to ask for, becomes even more important here. So I mentioned communications. It's like Grammarly for empathy. This is the words of a researcher. So AI is already more persuasive, right? And these are 5 different good studies, right? It'll more likely to help you change your mind, reduction in conspiracy beliefs. Part of the mechanism is because it's better, faster, and more accurate and strategic with facts, right? When I talk to my father about climate change, I just get emotional. And then I'm less effective, right? Because I'm not thinking, right? And AI doesn't get emotional, right? It's better at recruiting and hiring, right? It actually has, this just came out 2 days ago, right? These are voice interviews. So this has audio, by the way. So this is early ChatGPT. This is almost over a year ago. He has an interview and he asks his phone, his AI for advice.
I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad cheese vibe. Your enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out. Though maybe not in the way you're hoping for an interview.
Okay, I got it.
So not the most emotional, profound conversation, but better than average? More emotional intelligence than maybe some faculty you know? Right? I mean, right, so in other words, that's the new baseline, right? You have to be at least that emotionally sensitive, right? But it can see you, it can talk to you. So we see this, for example, this is the column of top uses for AI in 2024, generating ideas from Harvard study. This summer, top uses for AI, the top 3 are all emotional. Therapy, companionship, organizing my life, finding purpose. Number 33 on the list, talking to the dead, what are called grief bots. I miss Grandma, so I'm going to upload all of her letters into an AI and the recordings I made, and now I'm going to talk to Grandma. Or the child who's, yeah, exactly. That's the correct response, thank you. Right, so this is already happening. On the other hand, AI assumes a persona. It's able to give you a different perspective. So I don't speak Gen Z. So what about this first prompt? So I could take my academic integrity policy on my syllabus. I could upload it to AI and say, how might this be improved for Gen Z? What might a first-generation student think is unclear about my academic integrity policy? Because you're weird. You know, you like school so much, you're still here. Which means that you look at it and say, that makes sense to me. My assignment makes perfect sense. How could you be confused, right? Because you're not, but I could ask the AI to respond, or I'm doing marketing. Respond as a 35-year-old soccer mom shopping at Trader Joe's. Would you pay $4.99 for 12 ounces of my new product? Right? If I give it enough specificity, so earlier today when we did our technical exercise, I said, I want to create this assignment, I want to create motivation for my students. What students? Students at San Antonio College, right? The more that you give it information in context, the more it can respond like that. There are also now more emotional bots. So this is from Sesame AI.
Hey, good to hear your voice again.
Hi, Miles.
Anything interesting?
Yeah. So Miles, I want to do a little role play. I'm the doctor and you're the patient, and you've just come in for your results on your cancer test. Can we do that?
Ah, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Let's do it.
so Miles, your test came back positive for prostate cancer.
Okay. That's a lot to take in, honestly. Just hearing you say that, it feels kind of surreal, you know.
So,
is this really happening?
so just process that from. So, Miles, before we go any further, tell me what's the most important thing you want out of your treatment?
Whoa. That's a big question. The most important thing, it's not just like living as long as possible, I don't think. It's being able to, still feel like myself, still be able to do the stuff I enjoy, still be present for my family.
Okay, so are you ready to talk about treatment plans?
Or we see. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That's right. So, right, I mean, there's a sensitivity there, right? It feels a little, I mean, that's way more than better than ChatGPT. But, right, for a student, I could practice talking to a patient about exactly what I just wanted to do. When I get up, I have to actually, notice I had to, he makes me wait for him. No, come on, let's talk about treatment. But actually, I become a better doctor because I'm practicing in that scenario. Now I want to contrast that with Hippocratic AI, which does nurses. These are functions. They do.
¿Recibió su última vacuna contra la neumonía?
Pienso que hace como 4 años.
Sorry, I
Me alegra
switched
saber
languages
que
on
ha
you.
recibido la vacuna contra la neumonía antes. Generalmente,
So, right, obviously it can speak more languages than anybody else, but it also, right, it's not quite as emotionally, right, but that's because Hippocratic AI wants to create nurses that are accurate. So it's focused on making sure the information is exactly right. So they have a pre-op for your colonoscopy. They have a different nurse right there, really, really focused bots. So we're seeing this in chat centers and other kinds of, right, because she'll also talk to you for as long as you want. Right? When I go into an operation, I have like 4 hours of questions, and he's like, okay, I'm done. So that's, right, we have a nursing shortage. So the question then is not, do we have AI, but where do we put it? Because, of course, other things can happen, and some of them are bad. Well, a lot of them are bad, but here's one of them. So here for reference is Jose Bowen, and I am making an AI avatar. I produced an AI avatar in 2 minutes. Apparently, I talk pretty fast. Now I can copy scripts into a box and turn them into videos in any language. I can make me say anything, but so could you. 首先让我们来看一下 AI 虚拟形象的制作过程。这个过程其实 Of course, that's not me, and I do not speak Chinese. But if I were doing videos for my class, and I wanted to have translations in 4 or 5 languages and have them for my Arabic-speaking students, or I could do that. But I can also, right, that's a bot I could interact with. So one university in America has given one of those, right, that's all AI, it's not me. It takes about 30 seconds. But one university has done that for every faculty on campus. You can then upload all of your course materials, and students can talk to you 24/7 if they have questions. But of course, there's some ethical questions. Well, there are more than a few, right? Because you could make yourself an expert on something else, couldn't you? Right? Whatever you upload, you're an expert in, right? So I could use my own materials, but I could also upload all of the books, right? There are all sorts of weird questions about this, but you should know it can happen. So every job is going to change, and we know this because of a study from Stanford that looked at the 960-plus Labor Department jobs, which are consistent of tasks. So not all jobs are going away, but every job has at least one task in it that AI can already do better already. And you're thinking, well, not me. It's like, how about accreditation reports? Right? Is there nothing? How about the department schedule? Right? Is there nothing that you do that you say, if I could just offload that, running the department meeting, right? Recommendation, right? So the question is, what are the tasks that you no longer have to do? So when I go to my doctor in January for a physical, I got eye contact with my doctor. It's like normally what happens. It's like normally you come in, he comes in with the computer, he starts typing, he like looks at me occasionally, it's like, no, you're 66 to be, right? It's like, Doc, are you okay? What happened? He said, well, normally I'm over there typing. I said, yeah. I'm typing insurance codes because, right, everything I do has to have this insurance code so I get paid and you don't, right? I said, but the problem is I went to medical school, not insurance school. So I'm not very good at insurance codes, but the AI is really good at insurance codes. So I save 2 to 3 hours every day if you'll let AI listen to our conversation and do the notes, and then we can actually, my visit, it was totally transformed, right? So now, what will he have to do with those 2 to 3 hours, right? You probably have to see more patients, right? But I don't have any control over that. But I want to know that the question is which tasks, right? So AI is a new form of labor. You're an AI boss. And so this question of what is appropriate, what is meaningful, what is ethical, has just become more important, right? Where is it okay, and what will happen to humans if we let AI continue to do this thing for a long time? So that's a question that business won't care about, but you should, because it matters a lot. I think the liberal arts matters more than ever because, right, communication just got more important, ethics just got more important, right? But we also have to raise standards. So let's talk now. We have a little bit of time to talk about how we might do this. So first, why? Well, because students are not going to get jobs without AI. 66% of believe they wouldn't hire somebody. This is a list of so recent grads, this is the last 3 years, right, of how much harder it is to get a job in professional, scientific, or technical services, finance, insurance, information, right? It's harder to get a job for college grads because the entry-level jobs, right, where you make mistakes and right, those are being done by AI. Because for business, right, they call that progress. They also will pay more, right? Do you want your students to make more? And those are significant salary bumps for people who can add AI to their skill set. Right? Those are significantly more money. And students notice. So last June when students were polled, they said, well, how did you do in the job market? I said, you know what? I hate you. You should have prepared me for this market where I'm using AI, right? So 70% of them said you should have, and this is a year-old data, you should have integrated AI into college courses more. I now need more new training, etc. But there's another danger, which is that AI has separated writing and thinking. Right? 3 years ago, if you got a piece of writing, you knew somebody somewhere had to think something to produce that writing. And now, a non-thinking AI machine can produce writing that looks like it has thought, but it doesn't. So part of our job is also to reconnect them. So I'm going to give you some assignment ideas now. So this is what I do in the first day class. This is called DEAR from the University of Mississippi. I've modified it a little bit, but DEAR stands for Define, Evaluate, Explore, Reflect. So I say, okay, welcome to my class. So here is your first assignment. It's a 3-page writing assignment. But what I want you to do right now is to look at the assignment, and I want you to write an opening paragraph right now you could use a computer, but just free write an opening paragraph about what you think you might want to write about this week during this paper. I give them 5 minutes. Great. Now what I want you to do is I want you to explore this topic with AI, but I want you to use it in the following ways. I want you to tell the AI about your passions. Say, here is what my major is, here is what I care the most about, here's where I do my best work. I really want to talk about environmental issues, I really care about football, whatever it is. Then ask the AI, how might your interests overlap with those of this assignment? Is there something motivating that you care about is there a paper topic that you could do that would integrate these two? And I could talk to the AI about this, ask it, what else could I do? Give me 3 better ideas. And maybe some of the things we did in the technical thing earlier, I said, give me 5 more ideas, iterate on that, give me variations on that. Suppose I didn't mention basketball, what would you, et cetera. I have them do that for a few minutes. Now, close the AI. I want you to write for 5 minutes on the new topic. I want you to rewrite a new first paragraph based upon that conversation, something that motivates you, et cetera. Great. Now, I want you to take one of your paragraphs, whatever one you think is better, and I want you to input it into AI and get feedback, but here's the first question I want you to ask. I want you to say, what would somebody from the other political party think? What would somebody who disagrees with me say about this? What would a different economic theorist or whatever, I give them some sort of specific prompt. Give me feedback from somebody who willfully misunderstands my intent, right? And I have them have this conversation with them. I say, so get some feedback. I give them a few minutes. Now I want you to just take a new tool and I want you to upload the assignment and say, do the assignment for me, write the first paragraph. So now they've got 4 paragraphs. One they wrote themselves unaided, one they wrote with AI unaided, one they wrote after talking to AI, and one they wrote and then got feedback from AI. And I say, which one's the best? And they almost never say the one that AI wrote. They say, the one that AI helped me with some feedback. I say, okay, we raise standards, right? You're able to do more when you use AI, right? So where now did you learn the most? Not just which was the best product, which process helped you think better about the subject? That's a different question. When does because right, business doesn't care. They care about the product. We care about the process, right? So, and then reflect on where AI, hurt or helped. So I tend to not accuse students of cheating, partly because detectors have problems. They're not fully accurate. They have false positives. They accuse students who actually did not cheat, right? They have lots of problems. But if I suspect AI use, my question is, I'm not sure I hear enough of your voice here. What do you think about that? And 90% of the time, they'll just confess, well, I let AI probably do a little too much. I said, really? Well, what did you have AI do? And we talk, right? So the result of that is it sounds like AI did the thinking. It sounds like you're the sidekick and AI is the hero. Is that what you want? Oh. So you want to be the hero. AI can be the sidekick, like the spell checker. AI can be the sidekick. Okay, so I use this metaphor a lot, right? You want to be the hero, not the sidekick. AI can be a helper, but it can't be the main attraction. And if it does, you're going to lose something. And that's a lot more effective, in my view, than just saying, you cheated. And by the way, it's not plagiarism. Lawyers, right? Plagiarism is copying from another person. There's no person there. It's AI. So it's legally, so if you accuse them of plagiarism, you will lose in court. By the way, the Copyright Office, right, says that you can now, you can get copyright for something you produced with AI, providing there was, right, significant human evaluation. Yeah, it's good. You can copyright it, right? So the Copyright Office issued that in January. So it's not plagiarism. It might be misuse. It might be fraud. It might be cheating. But we probably need more words. Overuse, misuse. Right? Over-reliance. So we have to think about our vocabulary for academic integrity a little bit differently. So here's another assignment that I like for writers, which is I want you to create an outline, and then I give you a week to write the paper. And then you bring the paper to class, but don't turn it into to Canvas yet. Bring it in. So now what I want you to do is I want you to upload your paper into AI and ask for a reverse outline. Because I do this, my editor said, tell me what you, ask the AI, what did you think every paragraph was about? Give me a 1-sentence summary of every class, of every paragraph. Because my editor does this. It's like, what did you think this book was about? What do you think? Write me a 1-sentence. So I do this for every chapter, right? What's this chapter supposed to be about? And she goes, nope, did not hit right. And then I fix it. So what I like about this assignment is that even if they cheated and AI wrote the outline and AI wrote the paper, because AI is always random, it's not going to produce the same outline again. It can't. It produces a slightly different outline. And so I say, is that really what you intended to write, what the outline says? And then again, I give them a few prompts. How could I make this better? How could I make this more focused? And then, how many of you could make this paper better? Make it more what you really wanted to say. Every hand goes up. I say, great. So what we did last week, that was the pre-assignment. This is the real assignment. Make your paper better. Right? Raising standards. Journaling. A lot of us have students journal, right? It's good exercise. But prompting is writing, right? I'm writing in the chat window. So suppose I say, I want you to journal with a bot for the next 2 weeks. I want you to write 500 words a day. And I give them this prompt. And so now the AI will respond as you are a kind, insightful assistant who guides students to reflect deeply, discover their own insights and passions for writing, ask students to reflect on something they learn, and then it will ask a series of questions. And so so tell me something you learned, and tell me what you think about that. And then if it hasn't got to, tell me more, right? And then at the end of 2 weeks, You've written 500 words, right? That they've done the journaling exercise I wanted them to do, but they did it inside a bot. So save the PDF and turn that in, and now I can see that you did it, right? Again, in Canvas, you can now do this inside of Canvas as of this fall if you've got all those things turned on, but if not, it's coming any second. But lots of other tools will do this. One of the other ones I do is I say, okay, so before you turn in your paper, get feedback from this panel of experts. So you've written a paper on economics? Great. So here's the prompt. I want the bot respond as a panel of experts. Respond as Milton Friedman, as three economists, and then debate this paper. Ask thought-provoking questions, talk about the paper, deepen my insight. And the student has a discussion with those different insights, right? Guess, different people think differently about this. And then make revisions. They can get different kinds of feedback. So I actually have a bot. Again, all of this is on the website too. You don't need but the QR code will take you directly there. So there are two pieces of this I want to talk about. The first is that, notice what I've written. Just read what I've got here. Would it be okay if your students talked to somebody who thought like this? Maybe challenge their Western bias or perspective or whatever, right? So again, but you have to write this. This is mine. You can use mine, but you could write your own, right? Depending on your discipline, how you think, what you value most, what your learning goals are, you can now say, this is how I want you to challenge students about this. And what we find in studies is that students are much more willing to admit things to the bot than they are to their peers or to you. Right? I don't actually know how to do that. I don't like this theory. Right? They're much more willing to do this. So if I do this, I could then require students to turn in the chat. Or if I do it in Boodlebox or in Canvas or one of these or Poe, well, in Boodlebox, I can actually see all that they did. Because it's a platform that actually does that. Poe will allow me to create the bot, but I can't see what students are doing, which I don't like as much. So a couple things we've learned. First is that, new workflows, AI is better at the beginning and the end. So brainstorming, ideas, outlining, sounding board, question my assumptions. AI is good at that. Again, there are issues about is this a good thing, right? I may want to do that with a human, but AI can do that. And that's what's happening in the workflow. My daughter yesterday told me that, her company has all of this built in. It shows up immediately. Do you want feedback on your ideas? Do you want me to build the slide deck? I have 3 suggestions to make this slide deck better because you're presenting to the vice president who hates those kinds of charts. Right, it's all there. So at the end, targeting, feedback, coherence, alternative versions. Right, so the middle, though, I think still belongs to humans. And so I often tell students, I'll let you use AI for the beginning and the end, but the writing is reserved for you. The thinking part has to be you. Now, you may say, I don't want either one of those either, and that's okay, but that's where it's being used the most, and I think that's where it's most effective. It's not having it do the work, but having it give you both the beginning and the end. So one thing we've learned, and we did a lot of this morning with the prompting, right? Prompting is weird, but to be a good prompter is not to be an engineer, right? To be good at prompting, asking better questions, right? Being better with your communication, evaluating answers. That's not engineering, that's the liberal arts. That's how everything we do. We teach people how to think better, how to ask better questions. That's what we do. You all teach AI literacy already. You may not use the words AI literacy, and you may not use AI at all, but you are teaching the essential skill of critical thinking. And that's the number one thing that employers want, right? They want students to be able to ask better questions. Many of you came to the workshops like, I hadn't thought of having AI do that. That's because I thought of it, right? That's the human saying, hey, what if I could ask AI to do this? So there's real human value in what we do, and what we need to do is make sure that we're letting students know that that's what we do. Okay, so the last piece of this is creativity. And AI is really weird here. It is making us more creative. Of course, this is an AI image, but I'm the one who had to come up with the idiotic prompt, right? Genghis Khan, with his face as a strawberry, and Queen Elizabeth as a young rabbit with some cats with wings flying outside a spaceship, right? that dumb prompt, right? So try this with a really dumb prompt. And it's like, it's good at the language piece, but I still have to come up with the things, right? You've probably had this face, it's like the blank canvas problem. I want a really good AI, I don't know what to ask it. It's like, well, yeah, okay, so the human did it. So why is AI so good at creativity? Well, there are two reasons. One is that AI hallucinates. It makes up stuff, it puts things together in new ways. That's bad unless you're trying to create new ideas, right? What do you call a human who hallucinates? An artist, right? Someone who makes up stuff. Things haven't been put together that way, so, right? It's like collaborating with an alien. So AI hallucinates, which is a bug, but it's also a feature in the right context, right? But AI is also good at quantity, right? And so my chemistry professor used to say, you want better ideas, you need more ideas. He's right, you need more ideas, right? You need 500 ideas. And so quantity turns out to be a predictor, right? So humans, groups, we often say, oh, let's do variations of that one, right? We do 5 or 10. Turns out the Stanford D School says you need 2,000 Post-it notes to come up with a good product. You got to start with more ideas to get better ideas. So AI can do that, lots of things it can do to help improve teaching, right? Course design, so I've got a whole section of this, right? Give me new ideas for activities, assessments, grading, all sorts of things, which I don't have time for. That's okay. We'll do something else. So I want to think about some assignments that you could use where AI is now built into the assignment, A, to raise standards, but also B, so the students, I don't have to worry about cheating, right? So here's an assignment. Real assignment. From one of my old advertising professors, right? I need 50 new products for Trader Joe's by Monday, 50 new ideas. Okay, well, AI can do that in a heartbeat. I don't need to do that anymore, right? But so that was the old assignment, just come up with 50 different ideas. But the new assignment is, so I want you to iterate. I need you to improve them. So should they be mango jerky or peach jerky? Should it be spicy, not too spicy? Is there already a gluten-free Brazilian cheese bread mix at Detroit, right? Is that a repetition? Do we have anything like that? How much should it cost? How much will people pay for it? What's the supply chain? How big should the package be? How could I do market testing? You're a 35-year-old soccer mom shopping at Trader Joe's. Would you pay $4.99 for 12 ounces of spicy mango jerky in this packaging? Right? I don't have to do that. So marketing departments are being cut because I can do this and then quickly iterate. Right? So a lot of us who teach courses like entrepreneurship are now accelerating the process. It used to be, by the end of the course, I need a business plan. Now it's by the end of the course, I need a working prototype that you've tested. I want you to get some market research, supply chain, margin. So the new assignment here, give me 10 really good ideas that have been market tested, that you have packaging, that, right, what your boss is going to want is, what's the ROI on each of these, rank them from 1 to 10, and you can use AI for various pieces of that, but the human still has to be in charge of doing all that, right? So I've raised my standards from just having the ideas to a bigger product. This is an art assignment, uses AI as a tool, turn an explosion into art using AI. So AI is the tool. It's like having different pens or paints or pencils, right? But now the tool is AI, but I'm still making my aesthetic decisions, right? I'm still deciding, what do I see? Do I need to do that? Are the colors the right colors? Do I have to, right? I'm still using the artist. I need to see things differently. Or how about this? Make me a medieval photograph for Tuesday. Can you cheat? Do you have them in your library? You have any medieval photographs in your library? There are no medieval photographs. Didn't exist, right? So the only way to do it is to make a fake image, or make yourself a saint. Turn yourself into a saint and give yourself iconography, right? So I could do early European history with AI, or your art history final. Teach the AI to paint like John Constable, our painter this semester, but you can't use the words John Constable, and you can't use any of the period names, only style terms like brushstrokes, right? You have to describe. So I could have you write an essay that describes the style of John Constable. Or I could have you teach an AI by describing the style of John Constable to paint like this. This is an AI image, right? But why are the people so small? Where's the horizon? What about the clouds? Why is that one, right? I have to describe that. So in some ways, it's like writing an essay, except that you can't cheat. And it's a little more motivating and fun, right? Because you're also getting some AI skills. Can you make me a video that shows where the bonds are broken and then reformed. Right? Not just do equations, but actually show me what happens at a molecular level. I couldn't do that a year ago. But now I have a tool that I can say, okay, I'm going to describe, here's where things go, here's how this works. A graphic novel might be a different way to express yourself rather than an essay, right? This is my history of conducting that a student did. This is the first entry in take Tennyson's Ulysses and turn it into a graphic novel, so the texts are set, but make choices about the right images that you want. Here's another assignment from Susan Ray. So she asked the students, write about a controversial topic, like should schools ban smartphones during the day? Right? Free write for 10 minutes. Now, ask 5 AIs for a clear evidence-based solution. 5 different AIs. Compare the outputs. What's amplified, what's left out, how does each model frame the issue? What does this reveal about the priorities in politics? And then your essay will be to compare them. So here's my chart. Right? So ChatGPT is the most liberal progressive, Gemini is a little more moderate, corporate, Grok is right. Sorry. The students had to do an analysis of the various answers, but notice also the answers are different, right? ChatGPT says no, Gemini says no single right answer, Grok says yes, right? So I've asked a series of questions. So now the student does the chart, reads the AI, and then writes the essay. Could they cheat? Yeah, they could. But they're going to be interested in understanding how because they know this is their future, right? They're asking us to help them do this. Here's another assignment. This is from Retha Hill at Arizona State. So she wants students to find an underrepresented group or person in the Revolutionary War and tell their story by using AI to bring them to life in 3D, et cetera, right? So she gives some tools, but like Hannah Till is one of her examples, who was George Washington's pastry chef, not generally someone included in your textbooks, and so she wants students to have to learn how to do this, and so she then, let's see if I can get it to where I need it to be. Here we go.
Really learn about some of these people. So on the walls of this gallery, we have a number of people. I mentioned Nancy Hart.
These are her student projects.
A mother in Georgia, and who captured 6 British soldiers by herself with her 12-year-old daughter.
I did what I had to do and pulled the trigger of one of the stolen muskets I had in my hands. The crack of the gunshot echoed through the cabin, silencing the room.
We talk about Oliver Brown, and he was an extraordinary person. We talk about William Tennant here, who was a minister who went out in the backwoods of South Carolina to recruit people to join what he called the association, to join the cause. As he was pushing for them to join the revolution, he also said, sign this petition so that we can have true freedom of religion. That's extraordinary. So you'll be able to go to space.
So this is a semester-long project for her students. And that's the gallery they created, right? So again, the tools, right, what they're really doing is researching these people and using diaries, right? But when they use the AI to make a younger self of that person or to put something, right? So that's not the primary point of the course. They are learning some AI tools, but it's motivating, it's interesting to them, and they get to, right, use AI in an interesting way. So AI is useful for testing ideas. What if, right? What if we were to build a sports stadium on the moon? On the right, I teach a course on Wagner's Ring, 17 hours of music in German. Who's with me? Yes, German opera, okay. So the final exam is I want you to make a pitch to the local opera company of how you would produce Wagner's Ring. And this one's, well, I want to do Wagner's Ring as a Western. Okay, what would that look like? AI can make some images, and they, oh, that's a terrible idea, right? Or, oh, that's the end of the scene 4 in Das Rheingold, right? Is that right? So I can get some feedback on ideas. So for visual thinking, this is useful. So this is me, a realistic photo of a dog, right? Because I'm not an art or film student. But a film student, right, is going to think more carefully about, well, what's the camera angle? What's the lens, right? Where's the lighting, right? All of those sorts of other kinds of things. But an art student would also have to know art terms, right? I need to know what is the difference between, right, early Cubism, film noir. I didn't even know what origami 3D was a style, right? But Impressionism, right? So those are different, right? No, so the style terms make sense. So, right, he has this assignment where students have to pitch a series, right? So you're telling me, oh, I got this idea. It's going to be like the Grapes of Wrath, but it's an Asian family with UFOs, right? Okay, but I could do an image, right? What is that going to be like? It's kind of film noir, and whatever. So the more I can build that into my image, and you're going to start seeing this because Netflix has an agreement to do AI ads that will now be personalized for you. So this is an ad. So this guy does $500,000 ads for pharmaceutical companies for a living, and after VO3 came out, which is what this was made with, he made this in about 3 hours.
I tried everything for my depression. Nothing worked.
Every day felt heavy. I felt trapped.
Then I tried Puppermin.
Our prescription helps your body secrete a special pheromone that attracts puppies.
I took the pill before bed, and when I woke up, there he was, the love of my life.
The pill does not target depression directly, but we've found that it's really difficult to be depressed when cute dogs show up at your doorstep.
I used to feel so empty, but now I feel joy and mild concern how a pee stain got on the ceiling. My puppy listens twice as good as my ex-husband and only climbs into the lap of half as many of my friends.
He chewed up my Bible and pooped in my good chair, but I'm happy for the first time in years.
Looks like a rat, barks like a demon. But he saved my life.
I named him Earl. He follows me everywhere and farts in his sleep. Just like my first husband.
Puppermin, for when your therapist says, maybe you should get a dog.
I tried it.
So, not bad. Right? I mean, you don't need $500,000 anymore, right? So, in fact, one of my former students is in an agency in New York, and she says, so now, we're now getting these bids for, can you do a commercial for $20,000? It's like, well, no, we charge $1 million for that. It says, we'll do it with AI, right? So they're having to shift their workflow because I don't need actors, right? People say, those aren't real doctors. They weren't real doctors when they were humans either, right? They were actors, right? So there's a whole category of things that you can do now, right? Simulations, games, tutors. So, for example, before you turn in your business plan, here's the prompt. I want you to stress test the business plan by simulating how the business might evolve over the next 2 years. I give the prompt, then the AI then describes the next 2 years of market turmoil, and you have to respond in real time. Or I could just say, you respond as Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. Take me through my paces, right? And that will work. So I can design all sorts of games, right? Design a video game to help neurodivergent children learn friend-making behaviors, right? The point is not the video game here, but do you remember the Oregon Trail? Right? So you had to make decisions. So if I had my students, I want you to make a text adventure game about whatever, they'd have to write a script. They'd have to create a case study. That's really interesting, difficult intellectual work. But if at the end of that, I hit a button and the AI turns it into a text adventure game like the Oregon Trail, that's kind of fun. But it doesn't quite work. I got to go back and fix, right? That's going to be what they have to do. So there's some other examples of this. This is from a professor in Auckland. So she teaches marketing. So she created Jack. So this is a bot. So she's written a prompt and given it a knowledge base where she said, so it's the local football club. So she gave it all the information about the local football club, but also all of her syllabus, all of her learning goals about marketing. And she said, so take your idea for how to make the football club get more fans, right? And what I want you to do is talk to Jack, talk to the bot, and see if you can make your ideas better. And so what I love, the student said, he's like you, but in the screen, right? Because it's like bringing an expert into my class, except that the expert can talk to each student individually. So if you've got 50 students, you can have 50 different conversations going on. Or suppose I want students to run a nuclear power plant. Not for real, right? Because that would be, or run an experiment, secure capital, manage a lab, right? Buy a car, right? I can build a simulation. So I showed you this in the earlier session, right? That's my prompt. Create and deploy an interactive superhero-themed game to teach students this. I was doing it for a university in Saudi Arabia, so it's in Arabic and English. It has a little toggle to change languages. That's the entire work that I did. And then I get this model that does this. So the one I'd suggest that you do, you won't have a chance to do it now, but on my website I have a simulation for you to be the president. and to try to improve the economy, because my father's always telling me how much he could do this. And it's like, okay, right. So you're so smart, you be the president. And so it asks you, what year would you like to be the president? 1860, 1920, 2024. And then it says, and then it describes the economic situation, the political situation, says here's who owns the Senate, the House, et cetera. This is what's happening to the GDP. What would you like to do, Mr. President? Sell the Statue of Liberty. Can't. It's not here yet. Or, ooh, okay, I want to raise tariffs, close the, all right, I can try it. And then it's, oh, here, and then I had to add, go back and add, don't allow me to do things that are illegal. And then give me the source in the Constitution, right? Explain to me why, et cetera. So instead of, welcome to macroeconomics, I'm going to drone on for 50 minutes. Welcome to macroeconomics. Click on the link. I'd like you to try being the president for 5 minutes. It'll take you through a 4-year simulation. If you can do better than the real president at that period, you get an A, and you're done. Right? But most say, actually, you know, FDR was better than whatever. Nixon even did better than you, whatever. Right? So they get feedback, but it's a game that they can play. And then I say, now, so what questions do you have? How did tariffs work? How did raising taxes work? What are the things that you tried? What worked? What else do you want to know more about? Right? I can create simulations. So I've mentioned custom bots, but they really are two things. One is it's a prompt. This is intellectual work that you will have to do. This is hard work. Right? You saw that my critical thinking bot earlier. You're an intellectually rigorous professor. You help students find whatever. But you have to think and write that. It's good writing. And then you could say, well, here's the knowledge base. Here's the chapter. Here's the content. Here's the organic chemistry textbook, whatever it is that I want them to do. And so if you put those together, you can then create a bot that students can use. There are some different types. There's tutoring bots, right? And these are all things that you could do. I mean, you could use them. If you want to go to ChatGPT and you click on the GPT button, you can then search and see maybe somebody else already created a bot that will tutor you in Chaucer, right? There's millions of them, so you can go look for one. But in general categories, right, there's subject-specific tutoring. You could do a course bot, right? Here's my syllabus, here's the assignments, et cetera, here are all the deadlines. Feedback bots, be Mark Cuban, right? There's a moderation bot to have difficult discussions, right? There are lots of different kinds of things. But there are two final things I want to say. The first is, so Harvard just released this study, 930 first-year accounting bots. They gave them a course bot. So they took all of the assignments, all the textbook, they uploaded it into a bot, they gave it instructions to help students, don't provide the answers. Students mostly used it to understand concepts and jargon. Practice questions. Only 6% did it for calculations, right? They didn't mostly use it to cheat. But here's what's important. At Harvard MBA first year, only 12% of students became power users. And the most common reason they didn't? I'm terrible at prompting. I don't think I'm getting much. Oh, so they don't actually even know how to use the tool. So it's not enough to say, here's this cool bot I've done. On the first day, you've actually got to explain to them. So you have a course bot. You might use it, for example, to put all the deadlines in your calendar. You might use it for a study guide. You can use it to ask questions. Let's all log on and try it for once, right? And another study, different group at Harvard did the first RCT we've got about tutors versus active learning in the class. So a very clever study. They took these two groups. They both had 75 minutes. They did a pre-test, they did a post-test. One group came to class. The other group had an AI tutor at home. Next week, they swapped with different content. They found that students learned more with the AI tutor than they did in class, even with an active learning exercise. They found that students took less time. It didn't take them the full 60 minutes. And the students said they were more engaged. That doesn't mean we're going to be replaced. It means there's this supplement, there's this complement that could do some things. Because I think if you did this every week, students are going to go cuckoo. Right? They're not going to want to do this all the time. So AI could help us improve teaching. It could improve student support. It could help students reflect more and learn more, but only if we know how to use it and use it well and make the hard decisions. So my first, is try it out. Try some things. You have to be a user yourself to have to understand what it can do. If you haven't used it in 6 weeks, you have no idea. This changes very, very fast, way faster than the internet changes. It's like you're still using dial-up. The internet's never going to be anything. It's like, this is changing faster than that. But that doesn't mean you should just be a wholehearted adopter, right? What tasks you should do, That's a really, really hard question, and it's the question that I want to leave you with, right? AI is not going away. That does not mean you have to use it for everything. Probably means there is something you could, or there's probably something you can, right? 10% of Pulitzer Prize winners last year used AI, but none of them used it to do any writing. They used it for translations. They used it for checking of sources, right? They use it, right? So where you use it matters. And so knowing what it can do matters, but also knowing when to say no. And that's the work that you're going to do, because what we call cheating, business calls progress. So we have to be in this debate about the thinking piece. How does this matter? Where should students use it and where should we not use it? And if we're going to forbid it, we have to make it clear to students what they're getting in exchange, right? Because they think, I need to know this for work, and they're not wrong, but yes, you also have to know this, and you can't learn this if you're also using the bot. But we have to really be explicit about that. Just saying AI is forbidden is not going to do it. I would say you have to use AI at some point for something, because there are some things that you could use it for. Check your sources. Right? The book, APA, make sure everything is in APA format. I used to do that by hand. And now AI does it. And it does help me do other things with that time. That's a lot. I know you're, but I'm sorry, but I hope that's helpful. Thank you. Get out of your way.
Once again, please help me thank Dr. Bowen.
Thank you, Dr. Bowen.
All right, how about everybody stand up and just kind of stretch a little bit before we get started in the next area. If you haven't yet, how about turning to the person next to you and introducing yourself? All right, let's take our seats again. And first we have a video.
There's an African American song, 19th century, which is so great. It says, when it looked like the sun wasn't gonna shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the clouds. Imagine. And I've had so many rainbows in my clouds. I had a lot of clouds, but I have had so many rainbows. And one of the things I do when I step up on a stage, when I stand up to translate, when I go to teach my classes, when I go to direct a movie, I bring everyone who has ever been kind to me with me. Black, white, Asian, Spanish-speaking, Native American, gay, straight, everybody. I say, come with me. I'm going on the stage. Come with me, I need you now. Long dead, you see? So I don't ever feel I have no help. I've had rainbows in my clouds. And the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. You see? And may not eat the same dishes prepared the way you do, may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody. That's what I think.
Now, if I could ask the executive team if they'd please stand and join me on stage. When I was preparing to speak to you today, I thought a lot about the video that we've just seen. I've seen it a couple of times, and I'm hoping I won't get emotional, but I always do when I see that, because I think about how important our work is every day. And at the same time, I think about how many rainbows have appeared in my clouds. Some of you are sitting here in the room. Some of my rainbows are here in the room and helped me through different times. But I've thought about that so much as I've heard the different stories from our students over these past 3 years that I've served in this role, and how important you are to them, and I wanted to share that with you. Before we get started today, though, on behalf of the executive team, I want to welcome you to the 2025-2026 academic year. And at this time, I want to acknowledge the team. Please help me welcome them. First, leading our Student Success Division, please help me welcome Dr. Georgian Wade. While new to this position, Dr. Wade is not new to SAC. Since fall of 2023, he has served as a member of the adjunct faculty. Along with Dr. Wade, we have Dean Christy Horton, Dean Shay Pena, and Interim Dean Dr. Jacob Aiden Martinez. Leading our Academic Success Division, Dr. Cassie Rincones. Along with her, we have Dean Claire Ianelli, Dean Dr. Siddhakanta Mohanty, and Dean Dr. John Lee. Leading college services, we have Dr. Stella Lovato, along with Interim Dean Roslyn Ong. A couple of months before she gets it, I almost threw the doctorate in there. And Victoria Moe, our Director of Strategic Initiatives. Thank you all. If you'll be seated now, please. Thank you. The last time we were all together was at our 2025 commencement ceremony, a celebration where we proudly awarded 3,455 degrees and certificates. The evening before the commencement, the Alamo College's Board of Trustees named me as the 14th president of San Antonio College. As a proud SAC graduate, I cannot begin to express how deeply honored I am to serve in this role. That moment was not just professional, it was personal. This is home. I want to share my rainbows in the clouds, the people whose belief in me has shaped my life. And it started with my first grade teacher. Yes, I still remember her words of encouragement, Felicia Morales. It turned out that Felicia Morales was also the mother of Attorney General Dan Morales, so maybe she knew an attorney when she saw one, but who told me, you're going to go to law school. And since then, I started carrying around a pencil and a book and wondered when I was going to start wearing glasses as well, right? And along the way, I've had other inspiration coming from Sister Anne Crane, Brother John Perrin, and Dr. Colleen Aycock at St. Edward's University, where they guided me with compassion and high standards. At UT Law School, I want to thank Dr. Dean Mark Udoff, whose leadership and support were instrumental to my success there. I also want to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Flores and the Board of Trustees for the confidence they've shown in me. To the faculty and staff at San Antonio College, to you, for the past 26 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside you in the pursuit of our shared goal, student success. I'm especially grateful to Dr. Robert Ziegler and Dr. Robert Vela, whose mentorship and trust allowed me to participate in college leadership and grow professionally. Finally, to my family, I want to thank my parents who supported my every step of the way, and to my husband, Jerry, and my son, Alejandro. Over the past 21 years, we've built a family rooted in love and respect, one that celebrates each other's success and lifts each other to higher limits. You see, I too have had many rainbows. Over the past 3 years, I've had the privilege of sharing the good work that we do at San Antonio College across the city, across the state, and across the nation. After I speak, there is always someone waiting to share a story about how you were that rainbow. With great detail, the individual will share the story about how you changed their trajectory, how, based on what you did, that pat on the back, those words of encouragement, that ordinary moment became extraordinary to them. Sitting alongside you today are those stories. While interviewing you faculty and staff, I heard about rainbows. Because what you did, your former students were inspired and are now sitting alongside you today as your colleagues. They too want to change lives. They too believe in our mission, and they too believe in our students. If you're a proud SAC graduate, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to discuss the following topics with you: our centennial plans, new KPI updates, coming changes, and my vision for the future of SAC. This year, we celebrate 100 years of service and impact to San Antonio. Imagine it's 1921. San Antonio is the largest city in Texas with 90,000 citizens, and while there are a number of private high schools, Central Catholic for boys, Ursuline Academy for girls, and the German school, there's only one public high school, Maine High School, located where Fox Tech is now. At the same time, Dr. Peter Splon, president of the University of Texas, is talking to his deans about the need to increase enrollment at UT. The problems are, very few families can afford sending their children to Austin, and even fewer families can afford for their children to be away from the family for 4 years, because in 1921, everyone contributed to the household. Dr. Splon and his administration begin discussing establishing UT Extension schools. The schools are to be established with 3 guiding principles, and I'm so proud of how these 3 principles still guide our work each day: rigorous coursework, affordable tuition, and the idea that education should be for everyone. On June 9th, 1925, the Board of Regents at the University of Texas passed Dr. Splon's proposal and established the 3 extension schools, one in Fort Worth, one in Houston, and one in San Antonio. Now listen to this. Tuition was set at $105 for 3 semesters, or about $1,928 today. Students would attend class from 5 to 9 p.m. at Maine High School after classes from the high school were dismissed. The director was to be paid $3,200, about $60,000 today, and instructors were to be paid between $3,000 and $1,800 depending on their course load. On June 16, 1925, just a couple of months ago, 100 years, right? The San Antonio Independent School District Board of Education accepted the proposal made by Dr. Splon to establish the University Junior College. And on September 25th, 1925, classes formally opened at 5 p.m., and at 8 p.m., Dr. Splon welcomed 175 students, 6 faculty members, 1 dean of students, and the director of the University College program. At the close of the first year on May 18th, 1926, San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees received devastating news. The Texas Attorney General ruled the establishment of the University Junior College as unconstitutional. At the board meeting on May 26, 1926, of the San Antonio Independent School District Board of Education, 2 items appeared that evening on the agenda. The operations of the University Junior College would shift from the university to the San Antonio Board of Education, and the junior college would move from Maine High School to the 400 block of South Alamo, often referred to as the German School. In 1941, an election to establish the San Antonio Union Junior School District failed. In 1945, a second election to establish the San Antonio Union Junior College District succeeded, with 3,594 votes in favor and 1,765 against. The newly formed college district would serve both St. Philip's and San Antonio College. On July 21st, 1949, just months after purchasing the current location on San Pedro, plans for the new campus were approved and the building fund of $1 million was established. On February 21st, 1951, the move from the old German school property to the San Pedro location was completed. And on March 10th, 1951, a small ceremony was held to commemorate that opening. Today, SAC campus is over 65 acres. 21,000 students are expected to enroll this semester. We offer workforce and transfer programs. Over 1,000 employees come to work every day, and 3,455 degrees and certificates were awarded this past year. And we offer courses from GED to the baccalaureate in nursing. I'd say that's quite an accomplishment. This year will mark our centennial with several events. Over the past year, our Centennial Steering Committee has been busy planning the year's events. The committee is chaired by Harvey Hartenstein, one of our graduates, President and Chief Banking Officer of the Broadway Bank, and his wife, Margaret. Cappy Lawson and Susie Lawton of the Lawton Family Group of Restaurants. Dr. Tomas Uribe and his wife, Gloria, and Judge Edward Prado and his wife, Maria, all of whom are former graduates of San Antonio College. And Tori Carlton and AIA of San Antonio. On Saturday, September the 20th, from 6 to 10 p.m., we'll celebrate our Founders Day celebration here at SAC. I hope you'll make plans to join us and, of course, bring your family. Throughout this year, we'll highlight one of our programs each month. We'll also have a distinguished speaker series. And we'll close the year with a gala in September of 2026, where we hope to raise $1 million in scholarships for our students. I'm happy to announce today that we're starting with a group of amount of $300,000 that's been donated generously by a number of our graduates. And now the KPI update. For some incredible wins this year, I want to share all the hard work that you've each been contributing to. On August the 12th, I presented the annual SAC performance report to the Alamo College's Board of Trustees. I'd like to share some of those highlights with you. First, our learner performance highlights. Enrollment is up 13%. We've seen increases in credit and transfer students. We've had increases in course completion, productive grade rates, persistence rates, and graduation rates. Second, our college highlights. San Antonio College received the 2025 Family Yule Seal of Approval. This is a national certification awarded to higher education institutions and nonprofits demonstrated exemplary, measurable efforts in supporting parenting students. In 2022, we received the Seal of Excelencia for the work we do with all students, while ensuring that our Latino students are doing as well as all populations. We've submitted our 2025 application and have been invited by Excelencia to Washington, D.C. for an exciting announcement this September. This past year, our Veterans Center received the Gold Award for the outstanding services we provide to our veterans and to their family members. We are completing our work with the Aspen Institute and Unlocking Opportunity initiative to ensure that our students are graduating from high-wage, high-opportunity programs and not graduating into poverty. And finally, recently you read in the Express News the great work that we're doing at Alamo and how because of our great work, we received $89 million in state funding. I'm happy to share with you today that because of the work we're doing here at SAC, we're responsible for 30% of the total funding received by the Alamo Colleges District, the largest amount of any of the 5 Alamo colleges. Next, our learner profile. 70% of our students are Latino, 78% of our students are enrolled part-time, 61% of our students are female. Regarding our special population, 16% of our students are academically disadvantaged, 50% are economically disadvantaged, 47% are first generation, 9% are parenting students, and 11.6% of our students are VA. In the fall of 2024, we enrolled 19,901 students, which was our highest enrollment in the past 5 years. This fall, we're expected to reach 21,000 students. Enrollment by student type. Here, you see that we've had significant growth in the number of students transferring to SAC and our growth in dual credit. Excuse me. Course completion rates. In fall of 2024, we also reached an all-time high in our course completion rates. On average, 92% of our students completed their courses. That's amazing. Yeah. Productive grade rate. Because of the work we're doing with PGR, not just at the discipline level, but deep at the individual level, we continue to see progress in PGR. Four-year freshman graduation rates. Our four-year graduation rates are up for both full-time and part-time students, and our full-time student rate is at an all-time high. Degrees and certificates awarded. This past year, over 3,455 degrees and certificates were awarded, our largest award in the last 5 years. Where SAC students transfer. Here you see the top 5 institutions our students are transferring to. From this data, we know that our students are now transferring into 100% online programs. We also know the top 5 programs at each of these institutions that draw our students. Graduation rate of transfer students. How well do our students do when they transfer? We hear this question a lot about the work that we're doing here. We know that 69%, 70% of our students who transfer to university graduate, and that's important. Would you recommend SAC to a friend or family member? When our students were asked if they would recommend SAC to a friend or family member, they replied with 96% saying yes. And that's because of the work that you do each and every day. Every one of these numbers represents lives changed. I'm happy to report that we've had several wins this year and a lot to celebrate. I want to thank the entire SAC team for your outstanding work because student success remains priority 1 at SAC. Now about some changes you've heard about. You've heard the saying, things move fast and they'll never move this slow again. Higher education is changing fast and faster than ever. I've spent a great deal of time reflecting on the future of SAC and have engaged in meaningful conversations both with our organization and our external partners as we look forward to the next 100 years. In 2023, approximately 70 institutions left the iPads universe, with about 40 unique institutions closing their doors to students. Some changes are within our control, and others are influenced by external factors. For instance, curriculum development and hiring decisions are largely controlled by the institution, whereas changes in student demographics, government regulations, and economic conditions are largely external and beyond our control. Understanding the interplay between internal and external factors and forces us to adapt and thrive in the ever-changing landscape of higher education. This fall, we're facing several changes: our advising model, the faculty work week, telecommuting policy, the faculty senate, and our enrollment is changing. Our enrollment is expected to reach 21,000 students and is expected to continue to grow to 24,000 students over the next 3 years at a rate of 5% per semester. Currently, 13% of our students are dual credit and are not scheduled to be on our campus. 44% of our students are online only, and they too are not scheduled to be on the campus. 18% of our students are registered online and face-to-face, and only 25% of our students currently are enrolled in face-to-face only. 57% of our students are not scheduled to be on our campus during our regular standard business hours of operation. To respond to these changes, I'm working with a committee from across all 3 divisions: Student Success, Academic Success, and College Services. This committee has recommended that we implement the Pro-Sci ADCAR change management model as we navigate these changes. The model outlines 5 key areas: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. It's a goal-oriented model that focuses on achieving these outcomes to ensure changes are adopted and sustained. Here's a quick breakdown of the elements. Awareness, understanding the reasons why change is needed. Desire, the motivation and willingness to support and participate in change. Knowledge, learning how to change and what is expected during and after the change. Ability, the capacity to implement the required skills and behaviors to make change effective. Reinforcement, sustaining the change by reinforcing new behaviors and preventing the return to old habits. The ADCAR model is a valuable tool for change because it provides a clear structure. It helps to organize and manage the change process by breaking it down into manageable steps. It focuses on individuals. It recognizes that organizational change is the sum of individual changes and emphasizes the importance of addressing individual needs and motivations. It is outcome-oriented. It focuses on achieving specific outcomes rather than on activities, and it can be used for diagnoses and intervention. It helps to identify when individuals or groups may be struggling and allows for targeted interventions to address those specific gaps. By using the ADCAR model, we can increase the likelihood of successful change initiatives and minimize resistance. Over the next 30 days, we'll work with Pro-Sci representatives to conduct training campus-wide on the ADCAR model. Once the training has been completed, the committee will ensure that we use the model to begin conversations discussing coming changes. And finally, my vision for the SAC future. I'd like to take a moment really to share these thoughts with you. Over the past year, we've engaged students, faculty, staff, and community stakeholders to create our 2025-2028 strategic plan. And many of you have participated in those discussions. The strategic plan for San Antonio College was approved by the College Council in a meeting in August. Over the next few weeks, the plan will be shared with you as you begin to align your work to our plan. While our priorities remain the same, learners, talent, community, and performance excellence, our strategies have evolved to meet the needs of our students and our growing community. We continue to achieve our moonshot of partnering to end poverty of San Antonio through training and education. My vision for SAC is that we support our learners by propelling them to success from connection through the post-completion. We must improve learning and advising practices and processes that lead to increased student outcomes. To do this work, we'll achieve higher rates of enrollment, persistence, course completion, engagement, FTIC graduation rate, and total awards across the college and all groups. We'll increase the number of high-wage, high-demand opportunity programs, and will work to enroll 24,000 students by 2028. Second, SAC must continue to strengthen our community through collaboration and service. We'll promote credentials of value that align to community and industry demands. To do this, we'll create and launch the SAC School of Nursing at the Medical Center. We'll establish new workforce programs, and we'll ensure that no student is graduating into poverty by completing our program assessment process. Finally, at SAC, we're committed to delivering efficient and effective instruction, services, and operations. We must optimize processes and targeted focus on enrollment, onboarding, and registration supporting completion and/or transfer in high-opportunity pathways. To do this, we'll increase graduation rate by 9% over the next 3 years, and we'll provide opportunities for students to graduate with competency skills by increasing the number of badges awarded to students. As we begin our 101st year, remember, what you do matters. You are the rainbows in our students' clouds. Together, we'll make this year one of the most impactful in our history. Here's to a year of changing lives, one student, one rainbow at a time. At this time, I want to welcome Lauren and Daniel, co-chairs of the annual giving campaign, to the microphone.
Good afternoon. Each year, the Alamo Colleges partner with the United Way to raise money for community partner agencies such as the San Antonio Food Bank and our own internal student scholarship funds. Last year, we had a record-breaking year, raising $55,000. Worth mentioning is that 86% of the funds raised went directly to scholarships, making an immediate impact on our students. This year, the campaign will officially begin October 1st through the 31st, and we are setting our sights even higher with an overall fundraising goal of $60,000, which will contribute to our overall goal of raising $1 million to the Centennial Scholarship Fund. As we launch our Centennial celebration this fall, we can continue investing in our students and our community, laying the foundation for the next 100 years. At this time, I'd like to introduce Daniel, my colleague and a proud former SAC student, to share his story.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk about my sex story. Many of you present here have your own sex story. Mine begins in 2005 when I graduated from high school. I did not want to come to college. I had no will for that. My friend's mom, she intervened. She said, "You belong in school." And she forcibly drove me to SAC. I was enrolled in one day, stood in this long line, got my schedule. But immediately when I arrived here, I realized I was not academically prepared, nor was I mature enough to be a successful student. And I failed. I went into the workforce. My coworkers all saw it in me. I didn't see it in myself. They said, "You don't belong here with us. You should be in school." The next year in 2006, I went to SAC and I failed again. This time I went home, my friends and family told me, "What are you still doing here? Go back to school." Again, reinvigorated, 2007. I enrolled, and this time they said, "You have to speak with the chair." So I went into the chair's office and I said, I talked a big game. This time it's going to be different. I'm not going to fail this time. I'm going to make it. The chair believed me, said, "You can enroll, young man." I failed. I went into the workforce for 10 years. In those 10 years, I never made more than $8 an hour. I knew I wasn't going to go anywhere without a college degree. In 2015, I met my mentor. She told me, "Daniel, you belong in school. You don't belong here." I told her, no. I had every excuse in the book: academic probation, financial aid probation, 1.4 GPA. I did not make good money. I didn't have savings. She said, "I don't care. You're going back to school." I saved up $600. I re-enrolled in 2016. And while I had a first semester that was successful on my return, the next semester I started financially struggling. I was not good with finances. I was not good at saving. I was on payment plans. I was missing the deadlines. I was paying late fees. And by the third semester, even though I had 2 successful semesters in a row, I wasn't sure if I could return. One of my coworkers told me at the time, "Why don't you look into the Alamo College's foundation scholarships?" My grades had improved. I could apply. So I did. I applied. And thankfully, I got one. I was at a crossroads. I didn't know if I could return. I really didn't think I could return. If I didn't get that scholarship, I wasn't going to be able to afford it. So what does my story have all in common? Every step of the way, somebody helped me. Nobody's self-made. Somebody always helps you. From my friend's mom, my coworkers, my family, my friends, my mentor, they all intervened. Not financially, but with support. Eventually, the financial help did come. I went from this, 2006, long hair. Now I work with the president here. So I'm telling you, when you give back, there are students out there like me who just need a helping hand. They need that extra help to get them to the end of the semester. So please, when you give back, remember you are making an impact. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you again, and let's have a wonderful year. Thank you very much.